Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a breakdown on every single Transformers Studio Series figure, live action and 86 movie related, that we can expect to see throughout the duration of 2022. And my goodness, if you're a fan of the live action Michael Bay movies, then we're definitely in for a treat. It's looking to be the best time for a live action movie fan since I would say we completed Devastator way back in 2020, as there is a figure on this particular list of which I'm pretty certain will blow everybody's heads clean off their shoulders, especially if you enjoy Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Now, before we delve into today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could all smash that like button, and as always, please feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now, before we delve into the actual assortment breakdown, it's worth noting that none of these, as of this recording, have been officially announced nor confirmed by Hasbro. However, seeing as to how many leaks we've seen in recent years in regards to Walmart and Target, etc., I'm going to say that these are almost 100% confirmed, and that these are more than likely the figures that we'll be receiving by the end of this year. So before we delve into some of the newer waves, let's do a very quick recap. So wave 1 of course consisted of one of our first core class Studio Series waves, which was the Bumblebee movie Ravage as well as TF6 Shockwave. We then saw the deluxe class Brawn, Wheeljack as well as Ratchet, and the 86 movie Perceptor, and for Voyager class we got the B movie Soundwave, and finally leader class we got Coronation Starscream. So overall an incredibly impressive wave, especially where those B movie figures were concerned. And then we jump into the second wave, which is the Bumblebee movie RC, Ironhide, core class Spike Witwicky in the exosuit, a Voyager class Junkyard, and then for the leader class it is indeed Dinobot Sludge, a figure of which I'm actually really excited to hopefully fairly shortly take a look at over on the channel. And then this is where things really start to heat up for us live action movie fans, especially where wave 3 and wave 4 are concerned for the Studio Series. So wave 3 core class is in fact going to consist of only 86 figures, those being the 86 Wheelie as well as 86 Ratchet. Now Wheelie is actually quite a surprising one, especially considering that we did almost see a recent figure of this guy in the Studio Series that came packaged with Grimlock. Now I believe that's pushing on about 2 years now, so Hasbro have decided to give Wheelie his own individual release, and in all honesty I actually think that was the best choice for them to make, as that Wheelie that came with Grimlock just did not do the character justice at all. It was basically for the most part a statue, just a throwaway accessory that they packaged in. I'm not entirely sure as to why, and many of us, myself included, were really disappointed with it. Now if you're after what could this figure actually look like, I'm going to point in the direction of the Wheelie that we saw come packaged with the DNA Design Gearmaster accessory set. That figure is basically a core class Wheelie by definition. It's fully articulated, it looks fantastic in bot mode, none of that stupid pre-posing going on where the knees are concerned, and it actually transforms into a really cool vehicle mode, and that is exactly what I'm expecting from this new 86 core Wheelie. It really does beg the question as to why Hasbro even bothered with the Spike exosuit as well as Wheelie with those Grimlock and Slug leader figures if they were always going to intend on giving us individual releases. Personally, I would have much rather had seen them packaged in the Dinobot swords than those figures, but nevertheless, Wheelie sounds incredibly exciting, and if the actual exosuit Spike is anything to go by, it's going to be a marked improvement when in comparison to that accessory that we saw with Grimlock. Then we're going to be seeing 86 movie Ratchet. Now when I actually first saw this listing I was a bit confused as to why Ratchet would indeed be appearing in the core class, but as we've seen from the B movie Shockwave, it appears as if though Hasbro are trying to give us some of these more affordable alternatives to some of these big name characters, and I have no doubt whatsoever that eventually we will in fact see a Voyager class version of Ratchet and the B movie Shockwave, especially if rumours are to be true that during the later wave, I believe it's rumoured for November or December, we are in fact expecting to see a Voyager class 86 Ironhide. And Ironhide and Ratchet, when they're of course based on their G1 counterparts, always tend to be repainted and retooled on one another, so I'm definitely expecting a larger version of that figure. But really excited to see a core Ratchet. The core class across the board so far, besides their hot rod, I actually think have been really impressive, and it would be cool to kind of fill out the Autobot ranks in that particular scale. Then we jump to wave 4 for the core class, and this is really where things start picking up for us live action movie fans. So there is also a repack of the 86 Wheelie that we're expecting to see in wave 3, but we are also expected to see a Transformers 3 Dark the Moon Laserbeak. Now I'm really pumped for this. Personally, I didn't think the accessory that came with the Dark the Moon Soundwave did the character any justice at all, and to be honest with you, the best version that I think we've ever seen for Laserbeak would either be the accessory that came packaged with the third party New Age Mister, or even the actual Dark the Moon Deluxe Laserbeak. Sadly it was slightly out of scale when in comparison to the other figures, but it had superb articulation and looked incredibly impressive in its robot mode, and considering this is in the core class, it will no doubt scale really nicely with some of our Studio Series figures. I'm expecting the robot mode to look looked super detailed and for it to have a pretty decent range of articulation. Really not entirely sure as to what they're going to get this guy transformed into. This is one of the few figures of which I literally have no idea whatsoever. There's no chance they'll turn it into the pink Bumblebee, as of course that would drastically actually affect the look of him in his more turkey with wings robot mode. So I'm thinking maybe they could turn him into a gun for Soundwave. That would actually be a really cool idea, considering we never saw Dark the Moon Soundwave come with a blaster. So I'd definitely be really up for Laserbeak turning into a cannon, and if they were to take inspiration from the Human Alliance Laserbeak that we saw way back in the day, they could even give us an almost G1 inspired over-the-shoulder rocket for our Dark the Moon Soundwave. And then we jump back to some 86 figures, that being 86 Core Class Rumble. Now I actually am really looking forward to this guy, and the main reasoning is I'm really wondering as to whether or not they're going to do a rather similar situation to what we saw with the Core Ravage. Is this going to be able to fit inside either the Earthrise or the Siege Soundwave's chest? That is definitely something that I'm going to be really intrigued to see, especially considering that those compartments are really not that big, and Hasbro are definitely going to have to squeeze that alternate mode into a very concise amount of space. So will that ultimately jeopardize the look of the robot mode? I'm not sure. Or are they in fact going to be giving us a Studio Series 86 version of Soundwave down the line, maybe next year, which will in fact actually have a larger chest compartment? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. This will no doubt come with the pile drivers, of course, considering it is a core class, and I don't think we've actually gotten a proper version of Rumble in quite some time. We did see those almost Siege repaint cassettes, and they weren't too bad, but of course they were very small in scale, and the transformation really wasn't what you would expect from the Legends class assortment. Then for Deluxe class, Wave 3, we are in fact expecting to see a repack version of B-Movie RC, and I think that's down to the simple fact that figure is fantastic. They're expecting it to sell incredibly well, but we're also expecting some really awesome, highly anticipated Michael Bay figures, that being Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Sideways. Now, Sideways from Transformers 2 really is a very similar situation to what we saw with Dino, and even the most recent Transformers ROTF Jolt. It's a character of which really didn't get a heck of a lot of screen time in the movie, but is one that many of us, myself included, have wanted an updated version of. We haven't actually seen this character get his own distinct mold since 2009, so well over a decade. I'm really intrigued to see as to how they pull off that robot mode, as the original version wasn't too bad, but it was based on concept art, and I'm also going to be intrigued to see as to whether or not Hasbro can finally get the license to Audi, as of course we almost had a Dino situation where they had to kind of stylize the alt mode up for the original ROTF figure, which didn't look too bad, but considering this is the Studio Series, I am wondering as to whether or not over a decade later can Hasbro obtain that Audi license. This honestly is going to basically fill out the majority of the Decepticon ranks for Transformers 2, meaning that basically that cast is going to be almost done, especially when we talk about the leader class figure on this list. And then for an Autobot, we are expecting to see Transformers 3 Dark the Moon Bumblebee, really our final Bumblebee for the first trilogy of Michael Bay figures to be released, and to be honest with you guys, it's the one that I've been looking forward to the most. As many of you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Dark the Moon, and the Dark the Moon Bumblebee out of those three trilogy designs, the 2007 movie, Revenge of the Fallen, and 2011, is my favourite by far. He was just slightly more hench in that movie. He had this massive arm cannon, he even had the stealth mode in the Camaro form, so I'm in fact actually hoping we can kind of see something like that with this figure. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but I definitely think if Hasbro were to create an almost Stealth Force variant of Bumblebee, I know at least myself and many of you would be picking them up all night and all day, as that was actually a really cool look for his Camaro. But definitely super excited for this guy. It will no doubt be a retool and maybe repaint of either the Revenge of the Fallen or the 2007 Deluxe figure. I am hoping they slightly push the boat out further than they did for their ROTF offering, as that sadly wasn't 100% perfect. I'm hoping they nail the paint apps, they nail the head sculpt. It would be so cool to actually get the unmasked B head looking a little more accurate when in comparisons to the version that we saw on the older Camaro B, which was released in the first wave. Then in regards to Voyager class for wave 3, we're expecting to see a Transformers 6 Thundercracker, which will no doubt be a straight up repaint of the Starscream that we've already seen for B-Movie. Honestly, not too fussed about this. I think the mold in general is fantastic, and to get the Thundercracker colour scheme, I actually would really like to see how that would turn out. So definitely I'm going to pick this figure up, but one of the hottest reveals for wave 3 has got to be Transformers Age of Extinction Voyager class Galvatron. Now this is a figure that I personally have been mentioning for so long, literally since 2018 when the SS line first launched. Galvatron was truly one of those figures which, at least personally, I don't think was given the justice that he did deserve, and he came out at a time where sadly Hasbro were kind of cheapening out with the materials they were using. The conversions were nowhere near as complex as they were for Dark the Moon and Revenge Revenge of the Fallen, and basically the alt mode, the Freightliner Argosy, was almost like an IKEA flat pack slap bang on the back of Galvatron's back, which is not accurate to the movie at all, so I'm really looking forward to seeing as to what they can pull off with modern technology and a brand new figure. It will no doubt be so much cooler than its original release, of which I have in fact actually recently brought back into the collection. As you guys know, if you see in my garage haul, I did find the Takara movie advanced version of that figure, which I personally think is the better version, and to be honest, the details are definitely on point. It really was just that back kibble, and it was missing some paint apps, so if they were definitely to amplify the paint on this figure, I think that overall it could easily be a better version than, of course, the one we got way back in the day. And then, sadly, there doesn't appear to be any almost Wave 4 Voyager or Leader assortment, which is a slight shame. But then we jump to the Wave 3 Leader class, and this is by far the hottest live-action movie studio series figure that we've seen for some time, and it is, of course, the highly anticipated, most wanted Decepticon from Revenge of the Fallen, that being the Fallen himself. I can only imagine how awesome this figure is going to turn out. To be honest with you, the hunt for the Decepticons Voyager that we saw back in 2010, and to be fair, even the original 2009 The Fallen, I think are fantastic figures. Even for today's standard, they still hold up incredibly well. They're great scale with some of the Studio Series figures. In particular, would be that hunt for the Decepticons version, as it has got the fully articulated head, the removable face mask to reveal the "give me your face" endoskeleton, and it also comes with the staff. So for the best time, that has in fact actually been my stand-in Studio Series figure, so this figure has got a lot to do in order to top those two releases. Mainly, I hope they absolutely nail the colour scheme. The colour scheme is something that the Fallen sadly hasn't had a good track record with. He's either been blue, he's been burning orange, or he's been this rather strange, almost cockroach greenish colour, so definitely hoping they can nail it this time around with the Studio Series version. I'm also intrigued to see how he will scale. This is a leader class figure, so I'm hoping that it is actually a true to form leader, larger than pretty much any of the other Michael Bay leaders we've seen so far. And I'm really intrigued to see as to whether or not it comes with the staff and if it still retains that detachable face. The detachable face is something that they just have to do, as I know it will make many of our minds absolutely explode. And to be fair, another reason why I'm also super excited for this is that the Fallen never transformed in Revenge of the Fallen, and we've seen how well done their B-movie characters have been, such as Wheeljack, Brawn, Soundwave, etc., where they've basically had to come up with alt modes for, so they're going to have to do the same here with the Fallen, so I'm expecting the robot mode to look almost borderline masterpiece in terms of details. So overall, that pretty much concludes the majority of the Studio Series figures that we can be expecting to see throughout the rest of 2022. As mentioned when we discussed the core class Ratchet, there is indeed rumours of an upcoming, I believe it's a Target exclusive, I think it's an exclusive Studio Series Voyager 86 Ironhide. So I do think that maybe we'll get yet another leak of the entire wave that figure may in fact actually be in, or perhaps it's just a standalone release, much like we saw for the Dark of the Moon Deluxe class Leadfoot. But a few figures of which jump out to me in particular would have to be the Fallen, Galvatron, the Laserbeak from the core class, the Dark of the Moon Bumblebee, and before I actually wrap up, there is indeed a wave 4 for the Deluxe class assortment, of which I didn't even discuss, so let's not jump the gun. So for wave 4, we are expecting to see Transformers 5 Hot Rod. Now this figure, much like Sideways and Galvatron, etc., is one that we have been in a dire need of an upgrade. The version that we saw for Transformers The Last Night, I believe, was also a Walmart exclusive. For some reason, all of the Hot Rod figures were designated to Walmart, meaning that they were basically impossible to get a hold of here in the UK, but it wasn't a great figure. The shape of the chest was just way off. To be fair, the only best version we've seen for Transformers 5 Hot Rod would be the Unique Toys / EX9 La Hire, and that figure, the original version, was also a retool of the Age of Extinction Lockdown, which just was not a good figure at all. So really looking forward to that one. It's awesome to see that they're delving into some characters of which, to be fair, up until this point they really haven't touched in regards to movie. We haven't seen that many The Last Night Studio Series figures, and we haven't seen that many Age of Extinction figures. So much like I mentioned with Galvatron, there is indeed another Age of Extinction figure in wave 4, that being a tier 4 deluxe class Crosshairs. This is another figure of which needs a drastic overhaul. The original AoE version was not great. The Last Night version was slightly better. They kind of evolved on what they put out for Age of Extinction, but still it wasn't perfect. I am actually intrigued to see as to whether or not they'll go the extra mile to include the parachutes that we see him use in tier 4, as that was definitely one of his standout character moments in that movie when he jumps off that Decepticon gunship and begins shooting down at some of the other drones. So really looking forward to seeing as to how he turns out. And with all that being said, that wraps up every single Studio Series figure that we can expect to see throughout the duration here of 2022. Massive names on this list: Galvatron, The Fallen, Hot Rod, Crosshairs, Sideways, Bumblebee, Laserbeak, etc., and a few 86 movie characters speckled in there. Of course, the live-action movie figures have taken a slight backbench when in comparison to the 86 line, but here, with 2022, it really does appear as if though the live-action movies are making a bold comeback, and they're coming back with some of the best characters that we've wanted for so long. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below on this video. As soon as we get official announcements, I'll be back going through the ins and outs of the official promo images, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned to the channel for all future updates and of course future reviews, as I'm going to be reviewing everything that I've discussed in today's list. And as always, I thank you all so much for watching. Until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.